How Matlock addressed David Del Rio's exit in its mid-season premiere wasn't accidental, subtle, or brushed aside. It was a calculated, deliberate moment that blended fiction with reality in a way that instantly set the internet on fire. When the CBS reboot returned with its highly anticipated mid-season episode in February 2026, viewers weren't just tuning in for courtroom drama, they were tuning in for answers. They were watching for acknowledgement. They were waiting to see whether the show would confront the elephant in the room or pretend it never existed. They were watching to see how the sudden disappearance of Billy Martinez would be handled, and by extension, how the very public exit of David Del Rio would be folded into the narrative. For months leading up to that premiere, speculation had been swirling at full speed. Back in October 2025, news broke that Del Rio had been fired following serious allegations that triggered an internal investigation. The network acted swiftly. Production did not stop. Official statements were brief, carefully worded, and intentionally measured. Del Rio denied wrongdoing. There were no dramatic press conferences, no extended interviews, no public back and forth, just a decisive network move and a show that kept going. And that left fans with one burning question: what happens to Billy? Billy Martinez wasn't a background character. He wasn't someone who drifted in and out of episodes unnoticed. From the premiere of the reboot, he was positioned as one of the core associates at Jacobson Moore, a rising legal talent with ambition, edge, and flashes of vulnerability that made him compelling. He represented the modern young attorney, sharp, tech-savvy, eager to prove himself, sometimes overconfident, but deeply invested in winning the right way. He also served an important narrative function. The reboot of Matlock thrives on generational contrast. You have Matty Matlock, portrayed with masterful precision by Kathy Bates, embodying experience, patience, and courtroom intuition forged over decades. Then you have the younger attorneys, ambitious, hungry, navigating a legal landscape shaped by corporate pressures and modern ethics. Billy stood right at the center of that tension. His dynamic with Sarah Franklin added another layer. Their professional rivalry sparked with just enough personal undertones to keep viewers guessing. Was it competitive respect? Was it unresolved chemistry? Was it both? Their scenes had rhythm, their courtroom exchanges had snap, and the show clearly intended to explore that further. Then, mid-arc, he vanished. That kind of abrupt exit can fracture a series if mishandled. Television history is filled with awkward exits, characters disappearing between episodes with a vague "he moved away" explanation, or worse, no explanation at all. Sometimes it's clumsy, sometimes it's forced, sometimes it feels like the writers are hoping audiences won't notice. But Matlock knew audiences would notice. When the mid-season premiere opened, it did so strategically. The firm was undergoing a merger. Structural change was already built into the storyline. Mergers mean restructuring. Restructuring means evaluation. Evaluation means some positions are reconsidered. It was a narrative setup that allowed the writers to address Billy's absence without creating a dramatic, emotional spectacle. And then came the moment everyone was waiting for. In a meeting with HR as staff roles were being reviewed, Billy Martinez's name came up. It wasn't dramatic music and gasps, it was procedural, direct, almost clinical. The question hung in the air: where is he? Sarah quickly deflected, saying he was out sick. Her delivery carried subtle tension, just enough to signal that this wasn't a simple cold or flu. Matty calmly reassured that the workload was handled. Then the HR representative casually suggested that perhaps Billy's position could be eliminated altogether, framed as a joke, delivered with corporate detachment. It was quick, it was understated, it was unmistakable. Because in the real world, that's exactly what happened. His role was eliminated, his presence on the show was terminated, his storyline cut mid-development. The fiction mirrored reality so closely that viewers couldn't miss the parallel. Some fans immediately praised the move as bold and self-aware. They admired the writers for not ignoring the situation. Others felt uneasy, questioning whether humor, even corporate-style humor, was appropriate given the seriousness of the allegations that led to his firing. Social media debates ignited within minutes of the episode airing. But regardless of opinion, everyone agreed on one thing: the show addressed it. And that matters in modern television. Audiences today are deeply informed. They don't just watch episodes, they follow casting announcements, production rumors, and industry controversies in real time. Attempting to ignore a high-profile cast departure would have felt artificial. It would have created a gap too obvious to overlook. Instead, Matlock leaned into a style of storytelling that reflects how real institutions handle uncomfortable exits. There was no dramatic, in-universe scandal, no explosive confrontation, no off-screen death, just a restructuring conversation and a pointed acknowledgement. And in many ways, that restraint made it more powerful. Kathy Bates' performance in that scene was a masterclass in subtlety. She didn't deliver a grand speech. She didn't express visible outrage or sorrow. Instead, she conveyed controlled awareness, a flicker of disruption, a momentary tightening beneath professional composure. Her Matty Matlock has always been written as strategic and observant, someone who adapts without losing focus. In that scene, she embodied that exact quality. Adapt, adjust, proceed. That's precisely what the show is doing. Behind the scenes, losing a principal character mid-season is a logistical earthquake. Scripts have to be rewritten, character arcs recalculated, emotional beats redistributed, scenes rebalanced. The ripple effects touch everything: pacing, subplots, even marketing strategies. The fact that the mid-season premiere felt cohesive is proof of how quickly and decisively the creative team pivoted. Rather than plugging in a replacement for Billy, the show expanded outward. The merger storyline introduced new dynamics and fresh personalities. Sarah Franklin's character absorbed additional narrative weight. She stepped further into the spotlight, tackling more complex cases and revealing deeper emotional layers. Maddie's mentorship became more pronounced, reinforcing the generational backbone of the series. The absence wasn't replaced, it was absorbed. That distinction defines the evolution of the show moving forward. The controversy surrounding Del Rio's departure could have overshadowed everything. The reboot had been steadily gaining momentum, thanks in large part to Kathy Bates' commanding performance. Her take on Matty Matlock isn't a nostalgic recreation, it's a reinvention. She brings sharp wit, moral complexity, and quiet intensity to the role. The ensemble was built carefully around her to create balance. Losing Billy mid-season had the potential to destabilize that balance. Instead, the show doubled down on its identity: intelligent legal drama driven by character conflict and ethical dilemmas. The mid-season episode featured a layered central case that re-centered attention on the courtroom. The legal arguments were sharp, the pacing was controlled, emotional tension simmered without overt theatrics. It felt intentional, confident. Yet, the off-screen discussion hasn't faded. Fans remain divided. Some argue that swift action by the network reflects accountability and responsibility. Others question the broader industry patterns of handling allegations and the impact on careers when details remain private. The conversation extends beyond this one show. It taps into ongoing debates about workplace culture in Hollywood. But within the boundaries of storytelling, the show's primary obligation was continuity, and it delivered. What makes this moment particularly compelling is how seamlessly the fictional restructuring mirrored the reality of television production. In corporate settings, abrupt departures are often addressed in understated ways: a job eliminated, a role redefined, a quiet shift in responsibilities. The world keeps turning. That understated realism is what Matlock captured. It didn't sensationalize the exit, it normalized it. And that normalization may ultimately serve the series well. By refusing to anchor itself in scandal, the show avoids being defined by it. It acknowledges change without letting controversy dominate the narrative. As the season progresses, the impact of the merger storyline deepens. New rivalries emerge, alliances shift. Sarah grapples with increased responsibility. Maddie faces ethical crossroads that test her instincts. The firm feels different, leaner, recalibrated, but still intact.
Billy's absence is part of that recalibration. The situation underscores a broader truth about television in the streaming era. Adaptability is survival. Viewers analyze every frame. They discuss every casting decision. Shows cannot pretend off-screen realities don't exist. Matlock chose integration over avoidance. Addressing the departure through an HR conversation was symbolic. Human resources often represents policy over emotion, structure over sentiment. By framing Billy's exit that way, the show subtly commented on how institutions prioritize continuity. It's not about drama, it's about maintaining function. But for audiences, it's still personal. Because viewers form attachments, they invest in character journeys, they speculate about future storylines. When a character disappears mid-arc, it disrupts that investment. The mid-season premiere eased that disruption by acknowledging it plainly. Yes, he's gone. The firm is restructuring. We move forward. That forward motion will determine the show's trajectory. Reboots must prove their relevance beyond nostalgia. Matlock has already demonstrated creative independence. This controversy tested its resilience. So far, it appears steady. The legal cases remain engaging. Kathy Bates remains magnetic. The ensemble recalibrates with quiet confidence, and despite debate, viewers continue tuning in. In Hollywood, change is constant. Actors exit, storylines pivot, networks adjust. The machinery of television rarely pauses for long. The mid-season premiere was more than a narrative beat. It was a public acknowledgement of transformation. Billy Martinez's disappearance is now woven into the show's history, not through a tearful farewell, but through a single exchange that mirrored reality with surgical precision. Whether viewers found it clever or uncomfortable, respectful or risky, it achieved its purpose. It addressed the exit without letting it define the series. And in the high-stakes courtroom of network television, that may be the most strategic move of all. Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more celebrity updates just like this.